Did you know that just a small difference, seemingly tiny, in how your money grows could mean a $120,000 gap on a $10,000 investment over, say, 36 years?
It sounds wild, doesn't it? Or that whole idea you hear about billions leaving the stock market
Right.
when, well, they don't really go anywhere in that sense.
Exactly. So welcome to Book Talk Finance.
Glad to be here.
Today, this book talk is all about digging into a really insightful book we've been looking at, The Wealthy Barber Returns.
Yes, David Chilton. He shares some, let's say, unique perspectives on money. As he puts it, he's significantly older and marginally wiser.
Huh, love that.
Yeah.
And our goal here today is pretty simple. We want to pull out the most valuable nuggets from his observations, make personal finance feel, well, less daunting.
More accessible, just like he aims for in the book.
Right, we're doing this book talk to help you get better informed and hopefully a bit quicker.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Okay, let's kick off with some common themes, because the book, honestly, it feels a bit all over the map sometimes.
It does cover a lot of ground, yeah.
But there are these powerful threads running through it, and Chilton argues they're surprisingly simple.
Yeah, that's the first major theme that really hits you. He insists that sound financial planning is, well, it's straightforward, much more than people think.
Not rocket science.
Definitely not. It's not about needing some fancy finance degree or understanding, complex jargon. He talks about common sense, vanilla products.
Vanilla products, like simple stuff.
Exactly. Basic savings, maybe GICs, broad low-cost index funds, things like that. And just sticking to time-tested principles. He really stresses you don't need advanced math.
Right. I loved that bit about the successful investor who couldn't calculate 7 cubed.
Yeah. And Isaac Newton apparently being terrible with money. It proves the point, doesn't it?
It really does. Chilton quotes Leonardo da Vinci, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication."
Mm-hmm. And he applies that directly to finance. He warns you, be really careful with complex products.
The ones needing advanced calculus.
Or based on, arcane associations of assumptions, algorithms, and acronyms? His take.
They just don't work. Not for the average person anyway, often just confusing.
Keep it simple. That's the mantra.
Okay, so if it is that simple, based on common sense, basic tools, why do so many of us struggle?
Well, that leads right into the second big theme.
Yeah.
Human nature. It matters. Big time.
Our emotions getting in the way.
Profoundly. And usually not in a good way for our finances. A good plan needs discipline, patience. Things we often lack when money's involved.
We get distracted, maybe scared by market dips, impatient.
All of it. We're easily distracted, easily scared, impatient for those quick results.
So unlike a lot of financial advice that assumes we're perfectly rational robots.
Exactly. Chilton acknowledges up front, we won't be rational all the time. We just won't. We're emotional.
So the real trick isn't finding some complex strategy.
No. It's designing a simple plan that accounts for those emotions, that protects us from our own worst instincts.
Building systems we can actually stick to, even when we feel like doing the opposite.
Precisely. So connecting those two themes, the core message is pretty powerful in its simplicity. Keep it simple and get out of your own way.
These aren't just themes in a book. They need to become common practice.
That's what he argues. Common sense needs to be common practice.
That makes a ton of sense. Okay, all right, moving on. There's this specific thing he highlights, calls it a cool rule, the rule of 72.
The rule of 72, yes. It's such a neat little shortcut, really shows the magic of compounding.
Right, so for anyone listening who hasn't heard of it or just needs a quick refresher.
Sure, it's simple. It tells you roughly how many years it'll take for your investment to double. You just take the number 72 and divide it by your annual rate of return, assuming it's compounded.
So 72 divided by the interest rate percentage?
Yep, so if you get, say, an 8% return, 72 divided by 8 is 9. Takes about 9 years to double.
And if you somehow got 12%?
72 divided by 12, that's only 6 years. Faster.
Wow, and even 6%.
72 divided by 6 is 12 years. It works pretty well for rates between like 2% and 18%. Covers most scenarios.
And the impact is just huge over time. He uses his parents' house example, right?
Yeah, a great example.
Yeah.
They bought it for just under $20,000 almost 48 years ago.
Yeah.
Now it's worth around $320,000.
Okay.
So to get from 20K to 320K, it had to double, then double again and again. Let's see, 20 to 40, 40 to 80, 80 to 160, 160 to 320, that's 4 doubles.
4 doubles over 48 years.
Right, so 48 years divided by 4 doubles means It doubled roughly every 12 years.
Every 12 years, okay.
And then use the rule of 72 again. If it doubles every 12 years, 72 divided by 12, that's an average return of 6% per year.
Only 6%. His parents were surprised, weren't they?
Totally surprised. They
Okay.
thought it felt like much more growth. But that's compounding over nearly 5 decades. Even 6% adds up massively.
It really puts things in perspective. It reminds me of that funny story about confronting cottage owners.
Yeah, the couple whose cottage went from $50,000 to $200,000 over 40 years. And they were adamant it was an incredible investment.
So what does the rule of 72 say about that?
Well, 50K to 200K, that's just 2 doubles. 50 to 100, 100 to 200.
2 doubles in 40 years.
Meaning 1 double every 20 years. So 72 divided by 20, that's only 3.6% average annual return.
Ouch. 3.6%.
And like Chilton points out, that 3.6% doesn't even factor in property taxes, utilities, upkeep, renovations, all that stuff over 40 years.
The real financial return is probably much lower, maybe even negative.
Could be. And apparently they didn't appreciate him pointing that out.
Huh. I bet not. Which led to his advice. Never, ever try to rationally discuss the math of cottage ownership with cottage owners. Never, ever.
Because it's not purely financial, is it? It's emotional. Lifestyle.
Yeah.
They don't want math messing with their happy place.
Understandable, I guess. But the big lesson here, the financial one.
Absolutely critical. Proven by the rule of 72. Seemingly small differences in your rate of return. Just a few percent make a huge difference over time.
Like, hard to believe huge. Impossible to overstate the importance of huge, his words.
Exactly. You really need to see the numbers play out.
Let's use that RSP example he gives. It's so powerful. Imagine you invest $10,000. Maybe you get caught by those human nature things. Pay high fees, trade too much, panic sell.
Right. You end up averaging, say, 4% a year long term.
Okay. Now, your friend invests the same $10,000 at the same time, but they stick to the simple stuff, low costs, stay disciplined, and they average 8% a year.
Okay. First year, not much difference. You got $10,400, your friend has $10,800, only $400 more.
You think, okay, no biggie.
But then the rule of 72 kicks in.
Yep.
At 4%, your money doubles every. 72 divided by 4.
18 years.
18 years. And your friend at 8%.
72 divided by 8 doubles every 9 years.
Wow.
Twice as fast.
So fast forward 18 years. Your $10,000 doubling every 18 years has doubled exactly once. You have $20,000.
Makes sense.
But your friend's money, doubling every 9 years, has doubled twice in those 18 years.
Right, at year 9 and year 18. So 10K to 20K, then 20K to 40K.
They have $40,000 when you have $20,000.
Whoa. Okay, that's already a big difference. $20,000 more from the same starting point.
But wait, he takes it up further. 36 years, maybe closer to retirement for some.
Okay, 36 years, my 4% money, doubling every 18 years. That's 2 doubles total. At year 18 and year 36. So I end up with $40,000.
Correct. 10K doubled twice is 40K. Now, your friend's 8% money doubling every 9 years. Over 36 years, that's 4 doubles.
4 doubles. Let's see, 10K to 20K, 20K to 40K, 40K to 80K, 80K to $160,000.
Bingo. After 36 years, same $10,000 start, you have $40,000. Your friend has $160,000.
That is staggering. $120,000 difference just from 4% versus 8%.
See? Hard to believe, huge.
And I love his image of you dog sitting while your friend's off on their second trip to Italy that year.
Right. It brings home that quote from economist Charles Kindleberger. There is nothing so disturbing to one's well-being and judgment as to see a friend get rich.
Especially when they just did things a bit more simply and consistently.
It really illustrates why Einstein supposedly called compound interest the most powerful force in the universe, that exponential growth.
And the rule of 72 just proves it so clearly. Modestly better returns. Not from genius moves, just good habits lead to dramatically better retirement.
It's all about time, consistency, and letting that growth build on itself.
Okay, let's pivot a bit to things you should maybe not put your money into.
Ah, yes. The cautionary tales.
Chilton shares this fantastic story. It's funny, but also painful. It answers the question, where do racehorses fit in a financial plan?
Spoiler alert, they don't.
They really don't. Tell us about Dash Lockmont.
Right. So Chilton and 17 friends, in a moment of, let's call it collective optimism.
Questionable judgment.
Perhaps. They pulled their money, $2,500 each, $45,000 total, to buy this standard-bred racehorse, Dash. Most for the horse, some for upkeep.
And then the dream begins.
No. Disaster struck immediately. Dash broke his leg.
Seriously, the day they bought him.
The very day. Snapped cannon bone. Chilton asks the trainer about the insurance they just bought. Trainer says, sorry, insurance only pays if he's, well, dead.
Oh, no. So Chilton's reaction?
Understandably panicked. Shoot him, he apparently begged the trainer.
Wow.
Trainer says no, only if he's in curable pain. New plan. Try to nurse him back. Very low odds he'll race again. Chilton's thinking, shoot me. He just took money from all his friends for this.
Devastating. But there was a tiny bit of hope.
A long shot. The trainer suggested sending Dash to a facility with a big pool. Swimming therapy.
Swimming. For a horse?
Yeah, the motion is like running, but without the impact on the broken bone. Costly, long process, but their only chance.
So off Dash goes to swim camp.
Pretty much. Months passed, no news. Chilton's worried he drowned. Finally calls the facility manager.
Our manager's super cheerful.
Dash is a marvelous swimmer, beautiful to watch, makes friends easily, basically having the time of his life on their dime.
Oh my gosh, just swimming around, enjoying himself.
While their investment drains away.
Mm-hmm.
But then, a twist.
Don't tell me.
A minor miracle. Dash heals completely. Cleared to race in 6 weeks.
No way. Okay, redemption time.
Everyone's ecstatic. Race night comes. They go all out. Limos, tuxes, fancy cigars. Peak investor excitement, you know?
The big moment arrives.
And Dash has trouble in the starting gate, then trouble leaving the gate. Chilton thinks maybe he was visualizing victory too hard or had water in his ears.
So the other horses bolt and...
Dash is still visualizing. He eventually sauntered from the gate, didn't run, didn't trot, sauntered.
Sauntered, a racehorse.
Apparently stopped and waved to the crowd at one point. Not a good sign. Race after race, the result was consistent.
Let me guess. Last.
Last. One time he was second last. They joked he must have been doped. He didn't pace. He did a sort of shuffle, like a moonwalk.
A moonwalking racehorse. At least he wasn't re-injuring himself.
That was the silver lining, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Low speed, low risk. One time he finished so far behind he wandered into the winner's circle photo by accident.
Oh, that's just sad and hilarious. So the investment.
Yeah, they ran out of money. Couldn't keep funding his spa days and slow laps. Dash apparently ended up in Detroit. Birthday party circuit, maybe.
Pulling kids in a cart.
Chilton assures us no children would have been in danger given his speed.
Right. So the big takeaway from Dash's saga.
Echoing Billy Rose. Never invest your money in anything that eats.
A very memorable, very expensive lesson about speculation and emotional investments.
Absolutely. Don't let excitement trump basic sense.
Okay. Let's shift again to something maybe less dramatic, but still confusing for many. Understanding markets, specifically indices.
Right. Like the Dow, the S&P TSX, the S&P 500. People hear these names constantly. But Chilton notes surprisingly few really get what an index is.
So what is it, fundamentally?
At its core, it's just a tool. A single number that summarizes a whole bunch of data. It acts as a benchmark. That's really it.
He uses everyday examples, right? Like a golf handicap.
Exactly. That's an index of your golf game. Inflation rate. An index of price changes, class average, index of student scores, career points total, index.
They're all just aids, shortcuts, time savers.
Precisely. And finance needs them because there's just too much data. How else could you answer, how did the market do today? With thousands of stocks.
Impossible. But with an index like the S&P TSX composite.
Easy peasy, as he says. Just look at the percentage change of that one number. Gives you a snapshot.
So how are they made? He talks about the S&P TSX being a weighted average.
Yeah, of about 250 large Canadian companies.
Yeah.
And most big ones use cap weighting. Cap for market capitalization.
Market cap. So the total value of the company.
Right. A company worth 3 times more gets 3 times the weight in the index, which makes sense, right? It reflects its size in the overall market.
Makes total sense. Unlike price weighting, like the Dow.
Yeah, he calls that a goofy idea. The weighting depends only on the share price.
So a $30 stock has triple the impact of a $10 stock.
Even if the $10 stock represents a much, much bigger company overall because it has way more shares outstanding, it's just illogical for representing the market.
Okay, got it. So indices exist for stocks, bonds, commodities, everything.
Yep. Countless subsets too. But they all share 2 things. 1, single number summarizing data.
Yep.
2, and this is key.
Somebody made it up.
Exactly. An organization, a committee, someone chose the components, the weighting, the rules. They're human constructs, useful benchmarks, not some kind of market law.
That's a really important point, which leads to another misconception.
But you can buy the index.
Yeah, you can't, right? It's just a number, an idea.
It's abstract. You can't deposit money into the S&P TSX. What you can buy are the things in the index.
Through index funds or ETFs.
Right. Those funds hold the actual stocks or bonds, trying to mirror the index's performance. They do the tracking work for you.
That clears things up a lot. It also relates to his point about passive versus active investing labels.
Oh, yeah. Buying an index fund feels passive. But if you're constantly jumping in and out of it, trying to time the market,
You're being very active.
and probably just racking up commissions, taxes, and getting below average returns, kind of defeats the purpose of simple, long-term index investing.
Understanding what an index is, a tool, a snapshot, not a thing to buy, really helps.
Makes following the news more interesting, definitely.
Yes.
Even just for, party chat.
Though maybe keep the cap weighting details to yourself unless someone really wants to know.
Probably good advice.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the big nuggets we've pulled from the Wealthy Barber Returns in this book talk.
Sounds good.
We started with that core idea. Sound finance is simple in principle. Vanilla products, common sense. But human nature gets in the way.
Our emotions, yeah. Lack of discipline, impatience.
Then we hit the rule of 72. That cool rule showing the incredible power of compounding. How small return differences become massive wealth differences over time. That RRSP example.
Wow. Truly eye-opening. Then we had the cautionary tale of Dash Lomont.
Never invest in anything that eats. Avoid those purely emotional, speculative ventures.
Definitely. And finally, we demystified indices, understanding they're just tools, benchmarks, summarizing data, and that somebody made them up. You buy the components, not the index itself.
Right. So synthesizing all that, what's the overarching message from Chilton in these bits?
I think it's that financial well-being isn't about finding some secret or being a genius. It's about embracing simplicity, understanding basic principles like compounding.
Leveraging time.
Leveraging time, exactly. And crucially, being really aware of your own emotional biases and building simple systems to manage them.
Getting out of your own way.
That's it. Consistent, small, common sense steps over long periods. That's what moves the needle.
And that feels, well, really motivating, actually. You don't need to be a guru.
The knowledge is there. It's accessible.
Gaining this understanding, seeing how simple ideas have huge impacts. That feels like a powerful step towards making better decisions. For you, listening right now.
It absolutely is. The challenge shifts from finding complexity to practicing simplicity. Consistently.
So thinking about all this simplicity, compounding, emotions, basic tools, here's something for you to mull over. What's maybe one simple step you could take today based on these ideas from the Wealthy Barber Returns?
Could be anything. Reflecting on your emotional triggers with money. Looking up the rule of 72 for a goal.
Just one small thing. We really hope you enjoyed this book talk on the Wealthy Barber Returns and found these insights useful.
Hope so too.
If you want more discussions, more book talks like this, digging into different sources to help you get informed and feel more empowered, definitely subscribe to the channel.